Well, if the solid state button thing isn't going to work, what other controversy could we go with for the next iPhone? Craig, why does there have to be a controversy? Why can't we just add USB-C and call it a day? I don't know what you're talking about. We need to do something divisive. That way, there's lots of people talking about how crappy the new iPhone is. All press is good press. How cool is that? Craig, the fact that everyone's Lightning ports won't necessarily work with the new iPhone, I think is controversial enough. You can just call it there. No, that's too easy. We need to find a way to tick off more people. Craig, you're a sick man, you know that? I'm sorry, I know. I've got a lot of congestion right now. No, I mean, you can't just let people have a good thing, can you? Who's to say? Am I right? Oh, I got it. What did you get? Well, you really hate the iPad 10, right? Yes, and I hate where you're going with this. Well, the iPad 10 has inspired me a bit when it comes to being forced to add USB-C to the iPhone. I hate you. I hate you so much. He knew where I was going with that. Insanity. That's enough, Craig. Let's begin. Should be noted that I don't believe every single report surrounding iPhone rumors, but the ones I decide to talk about is because I want to entertain the idea as to why it does and doesn't make sense. And this is coming from Ming-Chi Kuo, who by no means has a flawless track record, but he has gotten a lot of long-term iPhone rumors correctly, where he'll be the first to come forward with display size leaks, or he'll be the first to come forward with, like, camera specs or something. Granted, it's very early in the iPhone 15 development process, which means Apple hasn't decided anything yet, but his report is claiming, in my opinion, overall good news, which is that all iPhone 15s are supposed to adopt USB-C next year. So I already take that, like, no matter what the follow-up of that point is, this is good news, and I'm excited for that, and I'm very happy to hear more reports alluding to that future, because it's the one I want. But he's claiming that the regular non-Pro, you know, iPhone 15 and 15 Plus, yes, unfortunately, even though the 14 Plus is not selling very well at all, it still appears that Apple is not ready to either scrap it or reintroduce the mini iPhone yet. But those aluminum build iPhone 15s will be rocking USB-C, but they will be at literally like the slowest you could get a USB-C port, with USB 2.0 speeds, basically the same speed as the USB-C port on the iPad 10, which we all love so dearly. In a bizarrely aggressive group of people that want to defend that iPad for some reason, just stop. They're $1 trillion company. It's okay to tell them that some of their products are just not very good. However, the silver lining, I guess, is in that same report, Kuo is saying that the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max, or 15 Ultra, whatever they end up calling it, those are going to be supporting faster USB-C ports, and right now they're still toying between USB 3.2, so basically the same speed as the USB-C port on the iPad Air 5, or perhaps even Thunderbolt, which sounds absurd, but to me, bringing Thunderbolt to the iPhone is a lot less absurd than bringing Thunderbolt to the iPad, which is running iPadOS, which barely has a working file management system. So if you're gonna sell an $800 iPad Pro with Thunderbolt, even though that iPad Pro only has 128 gigs of storage, then to me, it's not that crazy that you want to sell a $1,000 or $1,200 iPhone, especially if Apple is comfortable selling 1 terabyte iPhone models. Thunderbolt on that is honestly pretty reasonable, especially if the Pro iPhones, of course, are still gonna support ProRes recording, and who knows, maybe the iPhone 15 series is going to support 4K at 60 ProRes recording, or cinematic mode at 4K at 60, which just means very, very large file types. I know it's a bit early to tell, but there's a chance that they may up the storage configurations next year. It was rumored to happen with the 14 Pros, but it didn't. So maybe with the 15 Pros, they're going to start with 256 gigs of storage, in which case, yeah, for iPhone backups and moving off large files off of the iPhone, which there will be if you're recording a lot in ProRes, having a Thunderbolt port would be immensely useful. But let's address the controversy. Let's address what everyone is ticked off about. The 15 and 15 Plus at least are probably going to stay the same price, maybe even go up. And that means Apple, I think, is going to be going full swing on the decoy effect, which, in case you haven't seen my videos on that in the past, the decoy effect means that you essentially have a product in your lineup that is intentionally a bad deal. I already think they're doing this with the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus. I mean, they unveiled unveiling for it was pretty stale. Tim Cook is just like, let's take a look at the new iPhone, I guess. Then he went back to tracking his steps on his Apple Watch Ultra. But even like the colors on the website are pretty boring, and the regular iPhone 14 is just not that different from the 13, which they're still selling, especially the 14 Plus, which starts over $900. That's less than $100 away from getting a 14 Pro, which is a way better phone in so many ways. So the point of the 14 series is to make the 14 Pros look good. And I think it's paying off because Apple clearly cannot build 14 Pros fast enough. That's for a lot of reasons, but they only issued a public statement regarding 14 Pro availability. They didn't issue that same statement about any other Apple product, which was also affected by factory lockdowns going on. So I think Apple likes the situation where they unveil a lineup of iPhones and everybody ends up buying the more expensive one because that's clearly the better deal. And this is just such a classic Apple move, right? Like the EU forces their hand and says, you gotta switch to Type-C. Sorry, there's no way around that. So Apple decides, okay, well, if we're gonna switch to Type-C, we're gonna turn it into a feature that you kind of have to pay extra to fully unlock. So they give an $800 and $900 iPhone USB-C, but with Type 2.0 speeds. And ultimately, I still view it as a win. I disagree with all the people that are like, well, what's the point of switching to Type-C if it's gonna be the same speed as Lightning anyway? If you go back and see everyone's requests for adding Type-C, it was usually not about data transfer speeds. I mean, I think it's safe to say that if you're not a pro iPhone user, like recording a lot of ProRes videos on your phone or moving large files on and off your iPhone all the time, you're probably not transferring files with the port on your phone that much anyway. I understand there's a greater than zero number of people that still like sync their iPhone with their Mac or back it up manually via a cable instead of using either iCloud backup or backup over Wi-Fi, which has been around for years. But it's not that much higher than zero relatively, and I'm sure Apple knows this. Like over 98% of people are not transferring that much files through the data port on their phone. 99.99% of the time that people are using the charge port on their iPhone, it's for charging, and that's what USB-C is still gonna do flawlessly. And the whole reason everybody was wanting to move to USB-C was because we all just wanted to have a single port. We wanted to charge all of our devices with one cable. You know, you could go from MacBook to iPad to iPhone with the same Type-C cable, and you can still do that, whether the USB-C port is 3.1, Thunderbolt, or even, yes, the abysmal USB-C 2.0. And again, it just provides one more reason for you to opt for the Pro, which of course Apple wants. And this is kind of a separate subject, but it should be noted that the regular iPhone 15 and 15 Plus are still rumored to be 60 Hz displays, which was a very common criticism of the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus. So it's like Apple's not trying to convince you to spend less money on your next iPhone. It's in their financial interest to ensure that you keep coming back for those Pros. So, well, yeah, they do have to add USB-C to the regular iPhones. They basically did it in the cheapest and laziest way possible. That way you wouldn't be so tempted to buy those over the Pros, because then Apple would lose out on money by making those products better. So I still think the decoy effect is very much in full swing, and that's why I believe this report. It could change, it could end up being wrong. We're still very early in the iPhone 15 development process, but some leaks are believable, some are not. To me, the last video I did on the solid state buttons, that doesn't sound believable to me, but restricting the faster USB-C ports to the Pro models, because those people are more likely to use more storage or more likely to transfer files between their ports, and also it just provides another upsell for the Pros. This sounds very believable to me. I do think this is going to happen, but what do you guys think? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I'll see you all in the next one.